In today's video, we're counting down some of the most valuable Jefferson nickels ever discovered, revealing exactly what makes them so valuable and how you can identify one before it's gone. Stay until the end. You might already have a life-changing coin sitting in your pocket or coin jar. Imagine reaching into your pocket for a nickel to pay for a cup of coffee, only to discover that the tiny 5-cent coin you've carried around for years could be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. It sounds impossible, but stories like this are exactly why collectors across America inspect every coin before spending it. The difference between a spender and a collector is simple. One sees 5 cents. The other sees hidden history, rare minting mistakes, and life-changing value. Today, we're exploring one of the most talked about modern Jefferson nickels, the 2006 Monticello Thomas Jefferson Nickel. Under the right circumstances, with the right combination of extraordinary minting errors, exceptional preservation, and intense collector demand, examples connected to dramatic mint mistakes can command astonishing prices. Some claims online even suggest values approaching an incredible $934,000. But what makes one ordinary-looking nickel become the coin everyone wishes they had never spent? Stay with me, because the details may completely change the way you look at your pocket change forever. The Jefferson nickel has been a cornerstone of American coinage since 1938, surviving wars, economic booms, recessions, and generations of Americans carrying them in their pockets every single day. By 2006, the United States Mint had already celebrated the Lewis and Clark bicentennial redesigns, returning the classic Monticello reverse that collectors had loved for decades. Millions of 2006 nickels rolled out of the Denver Mint, and most entered circulation without attracting much attention. They looked ordinary. They spent like ordinary nickels. They disappeared into cash registers, vending machines, and coin jars across the country. Yet hidden among those millions were a tiny number of coins that displayed unusual characteristics capable of capturing the attention of serious numismatists. Here's something many people never realize. A rare coin doesn't always begin its life as a rare coin. Sometimes, rarity is created during the manufacturing process itself. A slight malfunction, an imperfect die, or an unexpected mistake inside the mint can transform an everyday coin into something collectors spend years trying to locate. That's exactly why experts inspect even the newest coins with magnification instead of assuming modern coins have no value. Before we go any further, take a quick moment and think about this. How many jars of loose change are sitting somewhere in your house right now? Maybe one in the kitchen, one in the garage, one inside a drawer you haven't opened in years. What if one of those forgotten nickels deserves a closer look? Thousands of collectors have discovered valuable coins in exactly those places. Now let's examine what separates an ordinary 2006 Jefferson nickel from an extraordinary one. One of the most desirable possibilities is a dramatic off-center strike. During production, if the blank planchet is not perfectly aligned beneath the dies, the coin receives only a partial design. When the date and mint mark remain visible while a significant portion of the design is missing, collectors often consider these pieces highly desirable. The more dramatic the error, while still preserving the essential identifying features, the greater the collector interest tends to become. Another fascinating error involves broad strikes. Without the retaining collar performing its job correctly, the nickel expands beyond its intended diameter during striking. These coins appear wider, thinner, and noticeably different from ordinary examples. Genuine broad strikes are immediately recognizable to experienced collectors because of their unusual proportions and distinctive appearance. Perhaps even more exciting are double strikes. Imagine a coin being struck once, failing to eject properly, and then receiving another strike. Depending on how the second strike lands, portions of Jefferson's portrait or the Monticello building may appear duplicated or dramatically shifted. These spectacular mint errors attract considerable attention whenever authenticated examples reach the marketplace. Then there are die cracks and retained die breaks. As production dies age, tremendous striking pressure can cause tiny fractures to develop. These cracks eventually appear as raised lines across the finished coin. While small die cracks are relatively common, larger retained die breaks or dramatic cuts become much scarcer and significantly more collectible. Collectors also search carefully for die chips, especially those appearing around Jefferson's eye, the lettering, or the architectural details of Monticello. Although tiny, These raised metal blobs reveal the gradual deterioration of the working die and can become important diagnostic markers for specialized collectors. Now here's where the story becomes even more interesting. Many collectors believe only old coins hold substantial value. That's one of the biggest misconceptions in modern numismatics. Condition often matters just as much as age. A flawless modern coin preserved in exceptional mint state condition may outperform much older coins that have experienced decades of circulation wear. That's why professional grading has become one of the most important factors in determining market value. Imagine two identical 2006 D nickels. One spent years bouncing around in pockets, scraping against keys and other coins. The second was carefully preserved immediately after leaving the mint. Under magnification, the difference becomes dramatic. Sharp luster, untouched surfaces, crisp strike details, and outstanding eye appeal can separate an ordinary collectible from an elite registry quality example sought after by advanced collectors. If you've been ignoring modern nickels because they're too new, you may want to rethink that assumption today. Some collectors have built remarkable collections by identifying overlooked modern varieties long before the broader market recognized their importance. The Denver Mint has earned a reputation for producing high-quality strikes, but no mint operates without occasional imperfections. Every die gradually wears. Every machine experiences microscopic variations. Every production run carries the possibility of unexpected mint errors. That's exactly why experts continue examining rolls of modern coins years after they were produced. Another characteristic specialists evaluate is strike quality around Monticello itself. The building's architectural details can reveal whether the dies were fresh or beginning to wear. Strongly defined steps, sharp columns, and fully rendered design elements increase collector appeal, particularly when combined with brilliant original surfaces. Collectors also examine Jefferson's hair detail, the lettering, the rim, and every tiny design element under high-powered magnification. What appears perfectly normal to the average person may reveal a remarkable variety once examined carefully. When was the last time you actually looked at the mint mark on a nickel before spending it? For serious collectors, that tiny letter beneath the date could mean everything. The D mint mark identifies coins struck at the Denver Mint, and while millions were produced, only a microscopic percentage possessed the unusual combinations of striking errors, preservation quality, and collector desirability capable of creating headline-worthy values. The rare coin market has changed dramatically over the past decade. Increased online auctions, expanding collector communities, and worldwide visibility have pushed extraordinary coins into the spotlight. Whenever an unusual modern mint error appears with professional authentication, competitive bidding can escalate surprisingly quickly. Collectors understand that once a truly exceptional piece enters a permanent collection, it may remain unavailable for decades. This growing competition explains why extraordinary error coins consistently generate excitement. The combination of rarity, authenticity, and demand forms the foundation of value. However, it's important to understand one critical point. Not every 2006 D Jefferson Nickel is valuable simply because it carries a Denver Mint mark. The overwhelming majority remain worth only face value or modest collector premiums. The extraordinary prices discussed by collectors apply only to exceptionally rare examples with significant authenticated mint errors, elite condition, or unique characteristics that distinguish them from ordinary circulation coins. That brings us to one of the most fascinating claims surrounding this issue. Some reports and online discussions have suggested that an extraordinary 2006 D Jefferson Nickel possessing exceptional characteristics could potentially approach an astonishing value near $934,000 under highly unusual circumstances involving elite rarity, remarkable preservation, and intense competitive bidding. While such figures represent exceptional scenarios rather than typical market prices, they demonstrate how dramatically rarity and collector demand can transform an ordinary-looking 5-cent coin into an object of extraordinary interest. Yet, under the right conditions, that same coin could become one of the most talked-about treasures in a collection. It's about tiny manufacturing mistakes becoming legendary decades later. It's about ordinary Americans discovering extraordinary pieces hidden in everyday places. And it's about understanding that remarkable treasures often hide in plain sight. So before you empty your pockets tonight, before you roll up that old coffee can full of change, Or before you cash in the coins sitting untouched in your closet, take a closer look. Examine every 2006 Jefferson nickel carefully. Check for off-center strikes. Look for doubling. Search for die cracks, broad strikes, unusual surfaces, or anything that seems different from a normal example. If you believe you've found something unusual, have it authenticated by a respected professional grading service before making any assumptions about its value. Remember, the greatest discoveries rarely happen because someone was lucky. They happen because someone was paying attention while everyone else walked past history. Every collector who has ever uncovered a remarkable rarity started with the same simple decision, to look just a little more closely than everyone else. And who knows? The next extraordinary discovery might already be sitting quietly inside your pocket, waiting for the moment someone finally recognizes what it truly is. If today's story has changed the way you look at modern nickels, make sure you don't miss what's coming next. In our next episode, we'll uncover another ultra-rare American coin that many people unknowingly spend every single day. Yet the finest examples have stunned collectors with astonishing prices. You won't want to miss that remarkable treasure, because the next life-changing coin could be even closer than you ever imagined. Have you ever paid for a cup of coffee, a snack, or a gallon of gas without looking twice at the change left in your hand? What if one of those ordinary-looking nickels was quietly worth hundreds of thousands of dollars? Most people spend their pocket change without a second thought. Collectors, however, understand that a single overlooked coin can become a life-changing discovery. Somewhere across America, a rare 1973 no-mint mark Monticello Thomas Jefferson Nickel may still be hiding in an old coin jar, forgotten piggy bank, dresser drawer, or inherited collection. The difference between a spender and a collector isn't luck, it's knowledge. And today, that knowledge could completely change the way you look at every nickel you own. The 1973 Jefferson Nickel doesn't immediately stand out. At first glance, it appears identical to millions of other 5-cent coins produced during the early 1970s. Thomas Jefferson proudly appears on the obverse, while Monticello dominates the reverse. Nothing about its appearance screams fortune. That's exactly why so many valuable examples have escaped notice for decades. Their ordinary appearance has become their greatest disguise, allowing rare error varieties to circulate unnoticed while collectors continue searching for exceptional specimens. Before we dive deeper, here's something you should do right now. If you have a jar of old nickels sitting in your house, pause for just a moment after this video and check it carefully. That simple habit has surprised countless collectors over the years. Most treasures aren't found in expensive collections. They're discovered where nobody expected them to be. The Philadelphia Mint struck hundreds of millions of Jefferson nickels in 1973. Since Philadelphia coins of that era normally carried no mint mark, every regular example looks virtually the same. That makes identifying valuable varieties much more challenging. Instead of searching for a mint mark, experienced collectors focus on subtle minting mistakes, die varieties, striking abnormalities, and condition rarity. These hidden characteristics separate an ordinary 5-cent coin from one capable of commanding astonishing prices. One of the most desirable possibilities is a dramatic double die. During die production, if the design is impressed more than once with slight misalignment, noticeable doubling can appear on the finished coin. On a genuine double die, collectors often inspect Jefferson's I, the lettering in Liberty, the date, and In God We Trust. Strong, unmistakable doubling created during the die manufacturing process is significantly different from machine doubling and is prized throughout the numismatic community. Another remarkable error involves an off-center strike. Normally, every blank planchet is perfectly aligned beneath the dies before striking begins. But when alignment fails, part of the design may be missing, while a blank crescent remains visible around the edge. Depending on the percentage of the off-center strike and whether the full date remains visible, these dramatic mistakes can attract substantial collector demand. Broad strike errors also deserve close attention. These occur when the retaining collar fails to contain the planchet during striking. Without the collar, the coin expands beyond its normal diameter while losing its raised rim. Although broad strikes vary in value, sharply struck examples from the Jefferson Nickel series continue attracting specialists who appreciate dramatic minting mistakes. Then there are clipped planchet errors. Before striking, Metal blanks are punched from long sheets of nickel alloy. Occasionally, overlapping punches create crescent-shaped missing sections. These clipped planchets are genuine mint errors, not damage caused after circulation. Authentic clips often display the famous Blakesley effect, where weakness appears opposite the missing section, helping experts distinguish genuine errors from altered coins. Now here's a question that could make you rethink every nickel you've ever spent. When was the last time you actually examined the edges, lettering, and overall strike quality of a 5-cent coin before handing it to a cashier? For most people, the answer is never. That's exactly why rare coins continue slipping unnoticed through everyday commerce. Among specialists, die cracks and retained cut errors create another fascinating category. As dies wear from repeated use under tremendous pressure, tiny fractures develop. These cracks eventually appear as raised lines across struck coins. If a section of the die breaks away entirely while remaining partially attached, larger raised areas called retained cuds may form. Advanced collectors eagerly pursue unusual die states because every stage documents the gradual deterioration of the working die itself. Die clashes represent another collectible phenomenon. Occasionally, the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a planchet between them. This accidental collision transfers faint design elements from one die onto the other. Subsequent coins may display ghost-like outlines of opposite-side details in unexpected locations. These subtle but fascinating errors require magnification and experience to identify accurately. Perhaps even more exciting are coins struck through foreign material. Grease, cloth fibers, fragments of metal, or other debris sometimes interfere with the striking process. These obstacles leave missing details or unusual surface impressions that cannot be duplicated after the coin leaves the mint. Collectors value these errors because every example tells the story of an unexpected interruption during production. Condition, however, remains one of the greatest determining factors in value. Millions of 1973 Jefferson nickels entered circulation and accumulated decades of wear. Finding a sharply struck coin with blazing original luster, flawless surfaces, and exceptional eye appeal has become increasingly difficult. Coins certified in elite mint state grades by respected third-party grading services often command dramatically higher prices than circulated examples, especially when paired with significant mint errors. Let's pause for another reality check. Imagine opening an old family coin box that's been sitting untouched for 30 years. Most people expect to find nothing more than spare change. But history has repeatedly shown that forgotten collections have produced extraordinary discoveries. Could yours be next? Now we arrive at the question everyone asks. Can a 1973 no-mint mark Jefferson nickel actually be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars? The answer requires careful perspective. A normal circulated 1973 Philadelphia Jefferson nickel is generally worth only face value or a small collector premium. However, the marketplace changes dramatically when an extraordinary combination appears. Imagine an example featuring a spectacular mint error, exceptional preservation, remarkable eye appeal, verified authenticity, and fierce bidding competition among advanced collectors. Under those rare circumstances, values can rise exponentially as wealthy buyers compete for ownership. Stories of six-figure coin sales continue fueling excitement throughout the numismatic world because rarity follows one simple principle. Collectors don't merely purchase metal, they purchase uniqueness. When only one or a handful of comparable examples exist, competition becomes intense. Every serious bidder understands that another opportunity may not appear for years, or perhaps decades. This is where estimates approaching an astonishing $876,000 often enter conversations surrounding extraordinary Jefferson nickel discoveries. Such figures represent exceptional, headline-making scenarios involving extremely rare, authenticated coins with remarkable characteristics and extraordinary market demand, not ordinary circulated 1973 nickels. Achieving that level requires an almost perfect storm of rarity, preservation, provenance, collector interest, and competitive auction bidding. That's why authentication matters so much. Cleaning a coin, polishing it, or attempting to improve its appearance can permanently reduce collector value. Instead, experienced numismatists recommend handling coins only by their edges, storing them safely, and seeking professional evaluation if an unusual error or exceptional condition is suspected. A proper examination may reveal characteristics invisible to the untrained eye. Here's something worth remembering. Every year, countless valuable coins unknowingly disappear into circulation because someone assumed they were ordinary pocket change. That possibility should make every collector just a little more careful before spending another handful of nickels. America's fascination with hidden treasure isn't limited to pirate ships or buried gold. Sometimes the greatest discoveries fit comfortably in the palm of your hand. A single overlooked Jefferson nickel can connect history, craftsmanship, economics, and human curiosity in ways few other collectibles can match. Every scratch, every die crack, every striking anomaly tells part of a remarkable story that began inside the United States Mint more than 50 years ago. The current collector market continues rewarding knowledge, patience, and careful observation. Auction records demonstrate that demand for truly exceptional error coins remains strong as new collectors enter the hobby, while experienced buyers compete for the finest known examples. As interest grows, overlooked varieties become increasingly difficult to locate, making careful searching more important than ever before. So before you empty your pockets tonight, before you roll your spare change for the bank, or before you ignore that dusty jar sitting on the shelf, have you ever paid for a cup of coffee with a handful of nickels without looking twice? Most people do. They spend their pocket change every single day without realizing that one ordinary-looking coin could be worth far more than a brand-new luxury car. Imagine discovering that a single Jefferson nickel sitting in your change jar could attract the attention of serious collectors willing to pay extraordinary money for the right example. Today, we're uncovering the fascinating story behind the 1981 Monticello Thomas Jefferson Nickel, a coin that appears completely ordinary at first glance, but can become incredibly valuable when it displays the rare characteristics collectors desperately search for. While most 1981 nickels are only worth 5 cents, a tiny number with exceptional errors, remarkable condition, or unusual striking characteristics have commanded astonishing prices. The biggest mistake you can make is assuming every old nickel is worthless. Collectors know that fortunes are often hidden where everyone else sees only spare change. So before you spend another nickel, stay with me because the coin in your pocket could tell a very different story. The Jefferson Nickel has been part of American life since 1938, honoring one of the nation's founding fathers while featuring his famous home, Monticello, on the reverse. By 1981, millions of these coins were flowing through the Denver Mint every month, entering cash registers, vending machines, and family piggy banks across America. Because the production numbers were so high, nearly everyone assumes the 1981 nickel can never be rare. That assumption is exactly why remarkable examples often go unnoticed. Hidden among millions of ordinary coins are a handful of extraordinary survivors that possess rare minting errors or pristine preservation, transforming an everyday nickel into a collector's dream. Here's something most people never consider. Every coin begins its life under enormous pressure. Massive coining presses strike blank planchets with incredible force, transferring every tiny design detail from hardened dies onto the metal. When everything operates perfectly, millions of identical coins are produced. But perfection doesn't always happen. Sometimes a die develops cracks. Sometimes the strike is slightly off-center. Occasionally the die shifts, creating doubling that can only be seen with careful inspection. Even small mechanical problems inside the mint can produce coins that collectors spend decades trying to locate. Now, I want you to do something. If you have a jar of old coins sitting somewhere in your house, pause mentally and remember where it is. You don't even have to leave your seat yet. Just think about it. Because before this video is over, you'll know exactly what to look for in a 1981 Jefferson Nickel, and you might be surprised by what has been hiding in plain sight. The first feature collectors examine is the mint mark. On a genuine 1981 Jefferson Nickel, the D mint mark identifies production at the Denver Mint. While the mint mark itself isn't rare, experts carefully inspect the surrounding area for abnormalities. A repunched mint mark, unusual placement, or evidence of die deterioration can significantly increase collector interest. These varieties are uncommon because they result from unusual events during the die preparation process rather than ordinary production. Next comes double die characteristics. A true double die is created during the manufacturing of the coin die itself, not after the coin is struck. Under magnification, collectors search for strong separation in lettering, the date, Jefferson's profile, and details around Monticello. Genuine double dies are highly respected because every coin struck from that die carries the same distinctive characteristics. These are not random damage marks. They are permanent fingerprints left by the minting process. Another highly desirable characteristic is an off-center strike. Instead of receiving a perfectly centered design, the blank planchet shifts during striking, leaving part of the coin blank while the remaining design appears dramatically displaced. Minor off-center strikes are collectible, but larger off-center examples that still display the complete date and mint mark are especially desirable. These dramatic mint errors are immediately recognizable and often become centerpiece coins in advanced collections. Collectors also pay close attention to die cracks and retained cuds. As coin dies wear from repeated use, tiny fractures can develop across the surface. Eventually, portions of the die may weaken enough to create raised lines or unusual blobs of metal on the finished coin. These features tell the story of a die reaching the end of its useful life. Rather than reducing collector interest, dramatic die cracks often increase it because they document a fascinating moment in the minting process. Here's another attention reset. Think about the last time you received change at a grocery store. Did you even look at the nickels before dropping them into your pocket? Probably not. That's exactly why valuable coins continue circulating for years before someone with a trained eye finally discovers them. One of the most overlooked qualities is strike quality. Many 1981D nickels exhibit weak details because of die wear or reduced striking pressure. However, coins showing exceptionally sharp details, especially on Jefferson's hair and the steps of Monticello, attract tremendous interest. Full detail examples are significantly scarcer than average circulation strikes. The famous full steps designation, awarded to coins displaying uninterrupted steps on Monticello, represents one of the most desirable characteristics for Jefferson nickel specialists. High-grade full steps examples become increasingly difficult to locate because even slight contact marks or weak strikes prevent certification. Condition plays an equally important role. A common coin in poor condition remains common, but an exceptionally preserved coin with blazing original luster, minimal abrasions, and nearly flawless surfaces becomes a completely different story. Professional grading services evaluate every microscopic detail before assigning a grade. The difference between one grade and another can represent thousands of dollars in market value. A coin preserved since the day it left the mint has a dramatically different future than one that spent decades rattling around in cash drawers. Let's talk about another error that excites collectors: clipped planchets. During the blanking process, metal strips are punched into circular coin blanks. Occasionally, a blank is cut incorrectly, leaving a curved section missing before the coin is even struck. When the design is impressed onto this incomplete blank, the finished coin displays a distinctive curved clip that cannot be duplicated after leaving the mint. Authentic clipped planchet errors are instantly recognizable and highly collectible. Broad strikes offer another fascinating possibility. These occur when the retaining collar fails to hold the planchet securely during striking. Without the collar, the metal expands outward, producing a coin larger than normal with flattened rims. Since these mistakes occur inside the mint, they represent genuine mint errors rather than post-mint damage. Here's a question that could change the way you look at every handful of change forever. What if the next nickel you receive isn't worth 5 cents at all? What if it's the one collectors have been searching for while everyone else keeps passing it from one cash register to another? Now let's address the headline figure that captures everyone's attention. You may have seen claims that a 1981D Jefferson nickel could be worth as much as $790,000. Here's the important reality. An ordinary 1981D nickel is not worth anywhere near that amount. Values approaching that level would require an extraordinarily rare combination of factors, such as a spectacular and unique mint error, elite certified condition, exceptional eye appeal, and intense competition among advanced collectors at a major auction. Such prices are the exception, not the rule. However, history has repeatedly shown that truly unique mint errors and finest known examples can generate astonishing bidding when multiple collectors compete for ownership. The modern coin market continues attracting new collectors every year. Online auctions, certified grading, and increasing public awareness have transformed what was once a niche hobby into a competitive marketplace. As more people search through inherited collections and forgotten coin jars, demand for certified rarity continues growing. The finest examples rarely remain available for long because advanced collectors understand that true scarcity cannot be manufactured. Once a unique coin enters a permanent collection, it may disappear from the market for decades. Here's another quick challenge. After this video ends, don't just check your wallet. Search the kitchen drawer, the old coffee can in the garage, your parents' change jar, and that forgotten piggy bank sitting on a shelf. Treasure has an interesting habit of hiding in the places people stop looking. The greatest collectors share one important habit. They never rush. Instead of assuming every coin is ordinary, they study details carefully, compare known varieties, verify authenticity, and seek professional grading when necessary. Patience consistently rewards those willing to learn. Every valuable discovery begins with someone taking a closer look than everyone else. The story of the 1981 Jefferson Nickel reminds us that rarity isn't always obvious. Sometimes it hides beneath decades of circulation. Sometimes it appears as a tiny doubled letter, an unusual die crack, perfectly defined full steps, or an extraordinary mint error overlooked by thousands of people.